start sending them in. So let's go. So your guy's slow. Let's send
Mm-hmm.
Hitman. I'll send them in one at a time. So Hitman to your stockpile for 2. Mongoose stockpile for 2.
Okay.
Centurion stockpile for 2.
All right.
Mongoose stockpile for 2.
Mm-hmm.
Spectre stockpile for 6.
Hmm. Ah.
And other Mongoose stockpile
4,
for
5,
2.
6.
And I'll move Victor up
Okay.
and turn the turn to you.
All right. Whew. 2. Wow. And my armored cavalry is a little too late. Why? Okay, here's my first deployment. I'll tap for 2. Construct. Okay, fully constructed. Second deployment. Okay. And they're fully constructed. I'll just
I'll block with
attack your
Victor and the
stockpile.
Wraith. I have no missions.
Okay.
6
3
to me.
plus 1, 6. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It seems I'm going to play effects. Play a mission. Play a mission card first. Oh well, before you. So. Ow! Wow, that's a 6. I'll take 4 of that. Yeah, I'll take. Yeah, I'll take the 4. And
Okay.
oh wait, I didn't overheat. Just to let you know.
Oh, just take 2.
Yeah. So
Okay.
you just take just take 2.
All right.
Yeah.
And then 6 to you.
So I'll just take the 6. Yeah. Right. Okay. And these tanks go out.
No worries. No worries.
Not there. That's your. Forgot that. Sorry.
All right, let's go stockpile with the Spectre for 6. All right.
And game's yours. All 6.
Awesome. Yeah, he threw those artist proofs in there.
Asset.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Cost, not the one with the asset with the assembly asset.
Gotcha.
That's the one that has more kick.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, those were extra. He threw those artist proofs in there
Wow.
for the last set that I got as a little extra. So I was thankful.
That's cool.
All right, you want to roll?
Yeah.
Let's roll to see who goes first here.
Sure.
All right, 5 for me.
You go first. cost, not the one with the app.
I'm trying to get more people on.
Afternoon, everybody. Well, afternoon in the UK. Hello to everyone else around the world. I'm going to try and do something a little different today. I've had a bit of a break. I've been to foreign climes. I've come back and I've got a few ideas. And I thought one of the things I'd like to do is to actually look at some gameplay, and because we've done decks and we've worked out what's good and what we like and what we don't like and what's good and etc etc etc. But actually look at some gameplay here and try and analyse what's going on, whether it's a good idea, whether it's a bad idea. I haven't got any games recorded. In fact, I think I've only played twice in about 6, 9, 10, 12, 15 years. So there's not much of me about. So I thought I'd pick up on a game that's reasonably short, so I'm not going to take up too much of your time here, between Travis and Synmaker, from an ELO match or a rated match from about 4 or 5 months ago. I think both players have moved on since here and started to do different things and develop different things. But I think it's an interesting example to look at. And I'm going to give you a bit of feedback on this as we go through. So I'm going to kind of flip through the video or the YouTube recording, which is there. You can go watch it. It's an interesting match at some points. We'll have a look at what's going on. So Travis is playing a Star League deck, which looks pretty much like the one that Chris Light Mech Warrior Lunt ran in 2000 and came 7th with. I think there's a couple of cards in and out on it. And Synmaker's running a Comstar deck, which is basically A, L, and T, with some Mongoose, some Burks and Shreks, a few Lancelots, and some Black Knights. And then there's a few mission cards to support that. No disrespect, it's not the most focused deck. It's what I would describe as a bit of fun, and you know, just chuck it around and have a play with it. Whereas I think Travis's deck is a lot more focused. We can probably do card lists if you really want them, but that's an intro to what's going on. So if I jump forward to about a minute or so, they start off and roll a dice. Sin or Elric rolls a 1, if I remember rightly. And Travis rolls anything higher than that and wins and goes first.
Yeah.
Sure.
Think you can pick up on the sound on here. If not, first. Then my apologies. Oh no, sorry. Travis rolls a 5. Ulrich gets a 4. So first point going off, we've got Travis's viewpoint here. Travis has a Huron Warrior, Black Market Connections, a Centurion, and an Awesome, and a Tactics card, which it's a pretty rough draw. Let's face it like that. Having a black market at the start is bad. You've only got one basic resource, which is a Tactics, and your cheapest mech, which is the 2-cost Centurion, has got a 2A buyout. So it's going to cost you 4 to get something on the table, and you've got 1. Now that's pretty tough, okay? We can't see Sin or Ulrich's hand, but here he draws.
I'm going to go ahead and mulligan this
Okay.
hand.
Okay, and at this point, Travis declares a mulligan. Okay, and at this point, this may sound harsh. This is not meant to be harsh. This is a learning point. And I appreciate that both players may not have played as much Battletech as you and I or whatever else, but I'm just going to pull across the DCI rules for this. And although people will say, oh, they're the official rules and everything else, that's fine. They are the official rules. However, let me bring that back, put that in front. However, they are the official rules. They are the ones that everybody plays by. Okay. So when it comes to Mulligan, the official rules set in 1.3.17, which deal with mulligans, say that before each battle begins, the player going first may decide to take a mulligan, reshuffle their stockpile, and draw a hand of 5 cards. So it's you don't even draw, it's just on your initial 5-card draw. If his or her initial hand does not contain at least 1 basic resource. Now, in Travis's case, he actually has a tactics in there. He has a basic resource. So although he's mulliganed, officially he shouldn't. Okay, and it happens. People aren't sure about it. People have moved on. Okay, so that for me is a learning point for everybody. You mulligan if you haven't got a basic resource. Note that black market is not a basic resource, so if you just got a black market, you can mulligan correctly. But with a plain normal support, AL, P or T in your hand, you cannot mulligan. Okay, if your opponent takes their own mulligan, then you can use their mulligan to redraw your hand, so you can take their mulligan. Okay, now in the physical world, what would normally happen is you would just flash your cards up to someone else and say, look, no basic resource. And they'd probably glance at them. Some people wouldn't even do it. But generally, it's courtesy to do that, or I've seen it done that way. And if that hasn't happened, and I've seen it happen once where someone took a mulligan like this when they shouldn't have done, that player was initially banned from the tournament, kicked out, and then a little bit of leniency kept in, and they were warned and reinstated. But Wizards took it pretty seriously and stuff like that. So no criticism here. Just learn basic resource or no basic resource. There's your mulligan. Okay. So Travis, who has got a pretty poor hand, to be honest, mulligans incorrectly, but we'll leave that. Shuffles everything in, draws again, and the draw goes from the sublime to the ridiculous here. And when you look at this draw, he has 2 mongoose, an assembly. So his first play is probably going to be assembly mongoose straight out. He has a Solaris connections or contacts, and he has Kai, champion of Solaris. So provided he draws a T shortly, tactics card, that mongoose is going to get a pilot on it very quick and start and deal an awful lot of damage. So gone from a really bad situation into arguably very close to a perfect draw. And then he draws his first card, which is Victor Steiner-Davian, Prince Vic, which, okay, maybe you'd swap a pilot for a tactics at this point.
I'm gonna try something that that some of my friend Rem and
swap a pilot for a tactics and draw them next turn. So Travis goes out with an assembly, which is the correct play at this point, and we'll find that Aldrich comes out with something else. I think he plays 2 resources. I can move this along. Yeah, he plays a tactics and a logistics, and Travis draws again and draws 2 tactics, which for the first, where are we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold on, let me pause it a second. 2 cards on the table. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards. 7 cards is practically perfect. So the play here is drop the tactics, drop the Solaris contacts, play 1 with the assembly onto the mongoose, and then tap the Solaris to put Kai on the mongoose. And Travis hits that one absolutely bang on. And all of a sudden you've got a cheap, durable mech with Kai on top of it, and the whole lot's doing 6 damage left, right, and centre. And it's a pretty scary combination. I've got another window open here, so I can flick this card in the top right hand corner, and I can't get the right one. That should be Kai. Yeah, because of the way Lackey does it. So you can see that +4 on him. So the mongoose comes out after the tactics. Next turn he's going to go another mongoose, Solaris, Kai, and Ulrich Synmaker comes out with his own mongoose, draws an assembly, I'm assuming, because he didn't play it first turn, held back the mongoose, and that's out. Okay, so they're looking even Steven at this point. on the board, but we know that Travis has got a big turn to come. Untap, here we go. Yeah, just checking everything over, which is always a wise thing to do. And he should go tap Solaris, Kai onto the Mongoose, and then tap the assembly and pop the other Mongoose onto the table. And at this point, Sin is in an awful lot of trouble because I don't think he's got anything in his deck. Okay, I've seen the game, I've looked at it 2 or 3 times, I know what cards are in there or what I think are in there. He's got nothing that's going to deal with Kai. So this is going to be very, very painful very, very quickly. Lovely. Going on to the Mongoose. Right, hit the stockpile for 6. If he blocks with the Mongoose, it dies horribly, or he takes 6. It's probably right to just take the 6 at this point. If the Mongoose dies, then that's one of his few fast mechs. And what we see in the bottom here is the 6 cards that are removed: a Tactics, a Black Knight, a Shrek, a Logistics, a Comguard response team, and a Fanatical Leader. And my point, or my reason to stop here, is you get to see or know what is scrapped. If it's a physical game, the cards are turned over. In Lackey, it's a list here. And you get to see what's scrapped, which is quite important because it gives you an insight into what's in the guy's deck and also what the theme is. So we know he's running Black Knight, so we've killed one last turn. So that's 2 out. If he's running 6, we've got a third of them out of the way and we haven't taken the damage, which is great. And then there's a Fanatical Leader and a Shrek and a Comguard response team, which I'm just going to flick up into the top corner here for you to see. Target gets +4 attack. It's a very good defensive mission. And +4 is enough to destroy a Mongoose on its own, being 1/3. So that going is good news for Travis, but it also gives you an indication of what's in the guy's deck. And with that on the board, you've probably got to be thinking he might have more of those in there. Okay, so there's a bit of food for thought for later. So Ulrich's turn now. Out he comes, untaps when we get there, draws a couple of cards, and obviously we're not sure what's in his hand at this point, but I'm not convinced at this point that he makes the right play. I think he taps one of the resources and puts out, or is 2 resources, and puts out a Fanatical Leader. And I'll just flick one of those up. There we go, Fanatical Leader. 1 initiative. Every unit in the group that includes a mech is piloted for Fanatical Leader gets +1 attack. That comes out and goes on to the Mongoose, and then he's left with 1 resource. And given that Travis has 2 fast units on the table, and one of them has got Kai, Champion of Solaris, on it, putting a CUC down with 1 counter on it, it's going to get smashed. Very, very simply, it's going to get smashed. Whether he sends Kai at it or whether he's got something else on the Mongoose, it's going to die. So I'm not sure what the benefit of putting the Fanatical Leader on here is. I wonder whether it would be better to put through all 3 counters on that card there. The CUC, meaning that Travis would basically have to attack with both to kill it, and that would give yourself a bit of respite. Anyway, that's sat there. He attacks with a Mongoose with the Fanatical Leader and plays a move to partial cover when Travis blocks with his Mongoose. I'm not overly sure that playing the move to partial cover at this point is particularly useful. It negates 2 damage, okay, but basically you're only taking 1 damage anyway because the Mongoose has got 1 point of armor on it. So basically you've prevented 1 damage from his Mongoose. And I'm not sure that at this stage is worth blowing a mission card for. Rightly or wrongly, we will see as the game unfolds. So the mongoose, both mongoose survive. They literally slap each other and walk away, and Travis gets to play again. And in Travis's hand, he has a Hitman, which is a 042 with ECM, and he has a Centurion 062 Alpha 2. The Centurion is medium, the Hitman is fast. And what Travis decides to do here is untap, draws a couple of cards, draws another mongoose, and I think at this point he will use Solaris to put a pilot out, put 2 counters on something, one of the mechs, and then play another resource and heal 1 on the mongoose. So with that in mind, the question is, do you play your mongoose, which you've already got 2 on the table and there's 6 in the deck, you got half of them in the first 12 cards, it's crazy. Or do you play the Hitman, or do you play the Centurion? And I'd be very interested if there's loads of people watching at this point to take a poll on here. My personal preference here is to play the Hitman. And the reason for that is that it is a fast unit. Sorry for the flicking cards. This is Lackey and me wiggling my mouse incorrectly. It's fast, so it can block this mongoose with the Fanatical Fruit Bat on it, which is only going to do 2 tops, and it's got ECM, so it's only going to take 1 damage. And it will also, because of that, apply ECM to every other unit. Okay, and I think that at the moment, Synmaker's Eldrick's only got 1 fast unit. Travis will have 3 if he plays the Hitman. And I think that gives you a lot more pressure. You could attack with 2 units, 1 unit, all units, and that mongoose will either block and die, or he will take a large amount of damage to the stockpile. So my personal preference would be to play the Hitman. Travis doesn't. He goes for the ultimate thematic thing, and he puts a Centurion out, pretending it's Yenlo Wang, and moves Kai to it. Okay, and yes, wonderfully thematic, very, very historical and lovely, but in this game, you don't get anything for being nice. You only get points for being brutal. So out comes the Centurion, pops down another resource, and heals the mongoose, and then puts Prince Victor out. And I think this play in a second is arguably incredibly safe. And I think given that you've got board presence of 3 units and 2 of the biggest pilots in the game, you can afford to be brutal. So I would keep Kai on the mongoose. I would heal 1 on the mongoose in the middle here, and I would put Victor on it, and I would attack the stockpile individually. If he blocks either of the mongoose with the big pilot on, his mongoose will die, and all of a sudden I have 3 mechs to none on the table. I have board presence. It's game over. It's arguably game over beforehand. But instead, Travis plays it safe. He puts Kai on the Centurion, which is okay. The problem is that the Centurion can't block this mongoose if it survives. So you're going to take damage. Vic goes on to the mongoose. This mongoose is going to hit the stockpile, and the mongoose with Victor on is going to kill the card under construction, which is definitely a good move. Whether you go stockpile or card under construction, at this stage, you're fighting for board presence. If you can kill that and it's a free kill, then it's probably worth 3 or 4 cards. So Travis goes stockpile with this mongoose, kills 2, and then the other one from Prince Vic deals with the Black Knight, and Kai comes out to play. If Kai was on that mongoose, you'd have done another 4 to the stockpile. Okay. If this Centurion was a Hitman, you've got a blocker for this mongoose. So that's why I would prefer to have played the Hitman at this point. Ulrich draws next turn. I think, at that point we could say that Travis could have been another 4 cards further ahead It is what it is. And it's quite hard in these kind of things when you're thinking and trying to deal with what's going on and understanding it all to easily make these kind of mistakes. And as I said, there is no criticism here. The Centurion is an equally valid play to any of the other units there. And it's easy with hindsight to go back and say, oh, you should have done it in this order and whatever else. So Synmaker comes out with the Burke, which is a slow unit, a 2-3-4, but that's not going to attack. And with the Hitman on the table, Travis could easily play the Centurion next turn to block the Burke and keep his fast guys going with Vic and Prince Vic and Kai on them, and the Hitman to give them even more armor and survivability. And then at that point, you're in a position where you've won the game effectively, even though both players still have 40 odd cards or nearly 40 cards in the stockpile. You've got so much board presence and so much firepower on there that the game is over, and arguably you could say it is at this point. Synmaker goes for the stockpile, which I find quite bizarre. Maybe it would have been better to have kept the move from partial cover from the previous turn. And you could have healed one up on this. But we all know what's going to happen now. You've got Kai and Vic on fast mechs. His fast mech is tapped out, so he's got no blockers. This card under construction is going to die. I would run probably the Mongoose with Kai onto it to do 5. 4 from Kai, 1 from the Mongoose to kill that. And then I would run Victor and whatever's left, whether it is the Hitman or the Centurion, into the stockpile. And I wouldn't worry about the Burke. I've got my Centurion if it was my Hitman play, or in this case, whatever you're going to bring out instead. The problem is that with the Mongoose coming out, the Burke can kill the Mongoose. The Hitman isn't so bad. It will survive like a wounded puppy with ECM and 4 structure, so it'll be on 1 health. So a little bit of order there would have made an awful lot of difference in the game. So on we go to the next turn. Travis draws an assembly and a Hitman. So he's got 2 Hitmen in his hand now and a Mongoose, and he's got 4 resources on the table. So I would probably play Mongoose and Hitman and use the spare resource to heal up the Mongoose, and all of a sudden I've got my board presence. He's played the Hitman, he's played the Mongoose. Will he tap Solaris to heal the Mongoose that's damaged? Probably so.
Paired with a Jenner and a Venom.
Yeah. Now, if this was the previous turn where I'd played the Hitman, I would drop the Centurion and the Burke. Let's bring the Burke up onto the screen. The Burke, which does 4 damage, cannot kill the Centurion. I don't need to elf for the Centurion. I just do 2 damage to the Burke and making dice roll, and I've blocked 4 damage. And if he wants to plink at me with his little Mongoose, then I'll take 2. I don't mind that, because next turn he's going to take an absolute world of pain. Now Travis goes for what I arguably think is quite a dangerous play. In fact, I think it's very, very dangerous. So he takes the Centurion with Kai on it, doing a grand 6 damage, and attacks the Burke, which is enough to kill the Burke. But if you remember earlier from the cards that we saw that were scrapped, there was a Comguard response team in there. Okay? So if that Burke has got a Comguard response team on it, because it's a direct attack, and the Comguard says the target of the mission, which in this case is the Burke, gets +4, that Burke can do 8. And as we know from the Centurion, it's a 1/6. So attacking that Burke with Kai on the Centurion, I think, was very, very dangerous. I would never have done that. If he's got a Comguard, I lose my Centurion and I lose Kai. And I don't understand why you would do that and take the risk. I think Kai on the fast Mongoose to pick off stuff and then let the guy attack and come over with the Burke and block it with the Centurion. Make him roll and okay, fine. But at this point, if he's going to attack, then the game's over with anyway. So I think that was a very, very dangerous play. Now you've got Victor on them, and you've got Victor and a Mongoose and nothing to block it. So now you've got to send both of them at the card under construction if you're going to kill the card under construction. Whereas if you'd have sent Kai on a Mongoose at it, it could have killed it in one, and then you could have attacked with Victor and done more to the stockpile. So it's all about numbers and balancing. 2, 5. Actually, that's wrong on my part. 2 and 5, 2 and 3 is enough to kill the card under construction. Travis can plink it for 1. I'll take that back. The Hitman comes out finally, and now you'll find that Travis has got superior board presence with 3 Mongoose, a Hitman, and a Centurion versus and the 2 big pilots versus the Mongoose and the Fanatical Leader, and it's game over. It was game over last turn. The only thing Synmaker could have done was kill Kai with a comm guard, and this could have taken more of an interesting battle or potential turn. So he plays Strip Mine for free, giving him 2 deployments, and you get the impression that he's struggling to find resources, but they're all coming out, and he always seems to be 1 resource lower than what he needs to put out the mechs he wants. Maybe that's because he paid for that Fanatical Leader earlier on. Maybe playing a resource earlier would have been a better move, and you'd have had another one on the table. And it might have just smoothed that curve, but you get the impression he's always behind in building, irrespective of stockpile. We're talking about building here. There's what, 5. He's got strip mining and the others on there. This is a lot of resource on here. 4 resources on it. It means it's probably going to be another one of those Black Knights. Which, to be honest, if it gets on the table, why am I worried? I'm Travis. I'm 7 cards up. I have numerical advantage. You've got and fast units versus 1 fast unit of you. I should be looking to end this game this turn and next turn. So Travis draws the Awesome and he draws the Spectre. So the play here is probably a resource and either of the 2 mechs, and then probably heal up the Centurion by 1. We can't see the damage on the Centurion because Kai's in the way. Put Prince Vic up for a second for you. Yeah. So it's got 3 on it, so yeah, heal it up. I mean, you could make a case for the fact that you could play the Hitman here and put Kai on something else. What's the Centurion going to get blocked by? The Mongoose. You're going to elf for it and they both die. What's the problem? So thinking about it, the better play is going to be Spectre and Hitman to give you even further advantage. And with Prince Victor, where you've got an extra unit in the group, you're going to get +1 on the unit because of Victor's ability. So that's just going to multiply and just end the game quicker, effectively. So I think we might have to say sacrifice the Centurion. If we go back a turn to when the Burke was on the table, if the Burke had come across, just block with the Centurion, and it's in a similar position to where it is. You could even go and elf for it against the Burke, but it wouldn't do enough. You'd have to roll. So I'd just leave it there. I think an extra unit at this point, Kai on a different mech, which is healed up, and you're on a winner. The only question now is, do you go straight for the jugular, or do you try and kill the card under construction just to eke the pain out even more? And I think with 32 in the pile, I would probably attack with Mongoose with enough damage to ensure that his Mongoose with the Fanatical Leader on it died. And given that he'd played a move to partial cover, which is prevent 2, I would attack with 6 damage combinations, so that his move to partial cover will not keep his mongoose alive. If I use my hitman wisely, then I will prevent damage because of the ECM. So I'll only take 1 damage on any of my units. So what goes off is that couple of mongoose, and there's a death there somewhere. I think I quite missed that a bit because I was talking, but I would have gone across with Kai and a mongoose, Vic in a mongoose and a hitman maybe, and enough to kill that. He'd have blocked, and then my other units would have gone through to the stockpile and caused a little bit of damage. At this point in the game, Travis is on 40 cards left, Sin is on 24, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pause the game here. Travis has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units on the board. Okay. So that's 2 from each of the mongoose, 2 from the spectre, and 2 from the hitman. And then the centurion does 2, and you can alpha it for 4. Add on the 4 for Kai, but with Victor, you can add +1 to all of those units. So I did a little bit of maths, which I cannot find now. I can find now. Here we go. Just to make sure that I was totally correct. So Hitman base attack 2, Mongoose 1, Mongoose 2, Centurion Mongoose. And then you've got 3 from Vic, 2 from the Spectre, 4 from Kai. If you alpha the Centurion and you add 1 to each of the other units from Victor, and then you add them all up, you've got a grand total of 27 damage. Sin's on 24, so you only need to do 22. You could just let the Centurion off or attack in a couple of groups maybe. So Travis has lethal next turn. Okay, and we're only about 17 minutes into the game, so now some people can understand why you can get 3 games done in an hour and 10 minutes, which was the old format. So Travis goes for the jugular, the Black Knight comes out, we're not worried about that, it's slow, it's not going to block any of the fast mechs that are on the board, it's a token gesture, it shouldn't even get to attack, to be honest. You know, if at this point, so Travis should just absolutely slaughter the game. And again, we have a strange play here. Okay, the Wraith comes out, that's fine. You've got a choice between Wraith and Huron Warrior. Let's find the Wraith. There it is. A 173 fast jumper, and you've got the Huron Warrior, which is a 183 overheat 1. Either is fine at this point. I mean, you've got so much speed advantage on the board anyway that it doesn't really make much difference. Travis misses, or has missed at the moment, the heal from the Solaris contacts onto the Centurion. It's always a good thing to do. If you've got a spare resource and something's damaged, assembly's there, just heal it up. And what should happen now is Travis should attack with everything. There are only 2 cards in the entire game, practically, that are going to cause him an issue. One is Heavy Fog, which will prevent 2 damage from everything. And then the second one might be Falsified Maps into Fog-Shrouded Moors, which will reduce 1 damage on everything. But if you've looked at what's gone on with the cards that have been scrapped, there's nothing in that deck that says that Synmaker has a Heavy Fog. You know, normally people play multiple copies, so there's nothing. I mean, he could do. He could do. Theoretically, if he does, then okay, he reduces the damage. He's on a few. The Black Knight has to guard next turn. You attack in single mechs, and the game is won. So he's remembered the heal now. It's all right. Everybody does that. The movement and the repair and reload and the deploy phase are just yes, messy and horrible. And then what I don't understand is why Victor has gone onto the Wraith. Victor is your attacking force card here. He gives +1 to every other unit. Why is he on the Wraith here? The Wraith's not going to attack. He's just come out. And blocking the Black Knight with the Wraith is only going to put Victor at harm's way, because the Black Knight, if I get that up, where are we, can do 3/6. And if you've got something like a Pushing the Envelope, for example, that could get to Wraith territory, of which only needs 8. So there's a good shooting would do it, and there is good shooting in Syn's deck. So I don't see that that's a particularly good move. I would be putting Victor on whatever it was and using his boost to attack everything. So Travis attacks individually and gets him down to 8. And as we saw last turn, he actually had lethal. 3 extra from Victor and then 1 from each of the units on there. The game should have been over. Okay, we all miss it. It all happens. Sometimes it's better to play safe. You can argue the heavy fog play all day. I would probably have gone for it personally. The game was over 2 or 3 turns ago. Just get it out of the way so you can shuffle and restart the next one. So Syn comes out. What have we got? Shrek. It just feels that he's always been behind the curve getting these units out. Never seems to be able to plonk 2 or 3 on the table efficiently. The Mongoose have gone, which are the fast units in his deck. The Black Knight is slow. The Shrek is slow. The Burke is slow. In fact, the Burke can't even block unless it's guarding. It's a token gesture. If you want to do something here, guard with the Black Knight. Okay, no, it's Harry Kiri. I go to the stockpile. Travis is on 38 here. You should have had Vic attacking last turn and be done with it. You wouldn't even be in this situation. So he decides to block with the Wraith and Victor and deals 6 back. The Black Knight doesn't overheat because it would die. If we just check that, Black Knight 2/8. So if it overheats and does 3 to itself and gets 6, actually it won't. You could overheat that. It's not going to make much difference. But if he did and good shooting, Vic could have died at that point. Just to prevent 3 damage, 6 damage when you're 32 cards away. I don't see it. Should have died last turn. And that happens. The Black Knight takes its damage. And I think pretty much at this point it's game over. There are 6 cards in his stockpile. It doesn't matter what Travis draws. It's just going to be an attack and an attack. He draws a single combat. And what's this? The 5th Mongoose? The 4th Mongoose? 1, 2, 3, 4 Mongoose out of the first 3/8 of his deck. So draw wise, that's incredibly lucky. Having 4 Mongoose in 25% of your deck when there's the 6 out of 20, 6 out of 60 in total. As I said, the game's over. It's just what you want to kill him with, and that's it. So I think all in all, an interesting game where things could have been very, very different at the start if the mulligan rule was applied correctly. Remember, Travis didn't have a great deal. Huron Warrior, Black Market. Although if I just move that forward a bit, Black Market, Centurion, Tactics, and an Awesome. That could have made the game quite interesting. With Syn coming out with a Mongoose early on, if he could have got a Centurion out, it could have been quite interesting. It would have taken another turn or 2 for the Huron or the Awesome, or Travis would have effectively been top decking. And I think there were a couple of things in there that were potentially dangerous, which hopefully for you guys who are learning the game will make you think a little. It's all right doing what you want to do, but if the other guy's got a counter, then you lose out. And paying attention to what is scrapped is quite useful as well. We knew, for example, that there was a Comm Guard response team in there. The Centurion attack on the Burke was potentially suicidal, and you're in control of that. Hitman versus Centurion, that's a personal preference, and a Miss Lethal at the end there. Don't take it to heart. It's very, very easy to replay this, review this, revisit this, pick and whatever else. I think in essence, generally they both played reasonably well. I think Sin's problem was his deck wasn't quite there and always behind the curve. Travis may have been a little careful, but generally he did the right thing, putting out the big pilots. I think you can afford to be a bit braver in the situation that he was in. If it was a different situation, then being a little more reserved, I could totally understand that. So there's a few points there, hopefully for both players, but hopefully for you. And if you guys kind of like this, I'll sit and do another one, or find another match to have a look at. Maybe something that's a little longer. I mean, this one was only about a 20-25 minute match. It was quite one-sided, effectively. I think a lot of the analysis is how you could have won quicker and maybe look more at the board presence and where you are and what you need to do and what you can get away with. Okay. So anyway, that's me. I'm done. Stick a fork in me. Quick stream, mainly because of the time available to me. Hoping to do some more soon. Not quite sure what. I've got a few ideas. I've done the draft thing, so there's probably a stream about that. Maybe even 2 or 3 on those. There's another one about some of the work I've done on Discord. If any of you are watching on the Discord or looking on the Discord channel, I've started to do some rudimentary stuff there and shape that and mold that into something that will work, hopefully. If you've got any feedback on that, pop it on the Facebook page, and let me know. And as ever, we will try and do whatever we can for our one viewer, and keep them happy. But if they don't tell me, then I'm purely guessing, and I'm not a great guesser. So look after yourselves. Strange world, nasty world out there. Good luck, have fun, and if you're playing in the tournament this weekend, the Singleton one, then have a great time if it goes ahead. Catch you all soon. Take care.